Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show with SportsbookReview.com. I am your host, Lee Martin, here to talk some UFC today, and it feels so great to be back. Every time I miss a show, it's like my heart hurts. But I'm back with my two favorite people. Joining me today, I have SBR's UFC expert, David Manyun, and MMA Mania's lead host, Matt Ryan. Now, before we get into all the good, juicy stuff for this upcoming weekend in UFC Vegas 38, just real quick, give this video a like, subscribe to our channel, that way you never miss a show with your favorite people. Now, before we get into anything UFC related, for all of my football fans, yes, right now it's football season, so we have SBR's Pick 6 football contest where you can win up to, you have to win your share of the weekly $1,600 prize if you finish 6-0. Signing up is free and super easy. You just go to sbrpicks.com/pick6 if you want to register or find some more information about this contest. Again, it is super fun, super competitive, and rewarding. So sign up for free and join in on the action. Now let's get this show on the road. This past weekend, we had UFC 266, Volkanovski versus Ortega, and honestly, I was very happy last weekend because I won some money. I had, shockingly, Shevchenko won inside the distance, and Volkanovski won by points, and I got that one too, so I'm really happy. But I want to hear how your guys' picks went, especially since I wasn't on the show. I want to hear all about it. Matt, my dear, I will start with you this week for your recap of UFC 266.
All hail Volkanovski. We all kind of saw that one coming. The Diaz fight went in a way that I think deep down inside all three of us believed was gonna go. That necessarily wasn't great, but a fun overall card, not a lot of disappointing. Valentina Shevchenko is Valentina Shevchenko, and she did Valentina Shevchenko things on Saturday. If you wagered even a nickel or a dime on her opponent, bless you. Bless you as a human being. I actually have a bridge. It's called the Brooklyn Bridge, and I would like to sell it to you for just the meager sum of $55 million. So please contact me, M. Ryan Consulting, names at the bottom of the gimmick on Twitter. Let's do some business.
Lauren Murphy made it to the fourth round. I think that is impressive. Okay, Shevchenko finished Jessica Andrade in the second round, right? So she made it to 4 rounds, so that's big props to her for that. But Dave, I would love to hear how your picks went for UFC 266.
I mean, there's a trend going on right now, and I'm on fire. I can't lie. I went 11-2 on the entire card. It was Omar Morales in the first fight of the night that let me down, and you know what? It did start the card off as a downer for me. But it was all up from there. And look, Martin Sano is no Jose Aldo, but Matthew Semmelsberger with the 15-second knockout on the early prelims, that got my juices flowing. And from there on out, the card was just, it was actually incredible. We all expected, with the talent that was on this card, it was great. And in terms of key plays or locks, whatever you want to call them, I must have gave out 4 or 5. I was a bit hyped up last week because when I've got a good feeling about a card, it usually goes to plan, and this card really did go to plan. From the prelims, Thiago Santos beating Roxanne, called it. Chris Daukaus knocking out Shamil, called it. Dan Hooker beating Nasrat Haqparast, called it. And then Merab, I called that. Well, I didn't expect him to get the knockout. And I should have, because Marlon Moraes, as we know, he's done, and he continues to do. I'm actually starting to feel sorry for him because he was so close. But Merab is so tough. And Marlon, he just emptied the tank. He emptied the tank. He had nothing left. And he got beat down in that second round, and that set up for a perfect main card, where I predicted every fight correct. Jess knocked out Cynthia Calvillo. Curtis Blades took a decision. Robbie Lawler beat it was a slow motion version of Nick Diaz. I don't know how to feel about Nick Diaz actually, because I see a lot of people saying we want to see him fight again. And do you know what? I agree. But Against someone like Robbie Lawler, maybe not so much. Maybe someone that is deep into their 40s. Maybe someone that's 44 or 45. Someone that's probably on about the same pace as him, because it just seemed that he was in slow-mo, and he seemed hesitant throughout the entire week building up to that fight. He even went on record to say himself that he doesn't like fighting. Mm-hmm. And for a person to say that, I'm never going to have my money behind them. I don't care how popular they are. I think it's just, the Diaz name is so hype, and people gave us a great price on Robbie Lawler, and I was happy to take it. And that led us into Valentina. I told everyone, ignore that 1,000 and rising price tag last week, and I told them to take her inside the distance, -200. Didn't mind paying up for it. A lot of people were hesitant. Oh, Lauren Murphy, she doesn't get finished. This is the bullet. It's like she finishes girls. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what she did. It did go into the 4th round. I did say she'd get it late. I didn't expect her to come out guns blazing in round 1. She likes to get rounds, Valentina. She's not always about getting that early finish. And Lauren is a tough girl, but she's not tough enough to last 25 minutes with Queen Shevchenko. And then, obviously, the fight of the night, Volkanovski, Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega is one of them guys. He just does not give up. Mm-hmm. And for how much he got beat on, he did not stop trying. And that 3rd round, it was said by many MMA critics and MMA media that it's going to go down as not only, one of the best rounds of the year, but potentially one of the best rounds in MMA history. It was so up and down. He's so close to locking it up. But as Volkanovski says, you can't choke somebody that doesn't have a neck. And he doesn't have much of a neck to grab. And Ortega is so good at them guillotine chokes. And I was worried. I was panicking. I was thinking, oh, shit. I was thinking he is going to tap, but he didn't. He fought through. And what I was screaming at the telly, take it back to get on your feet. He did not mind staying in guard, landing some ground and pound. I was going crazy because he just shouldn't have been in that position at all. Eventually he did, but he stayed too long in that guard and close to the ground for my liking. But he got the job done anyway. Perfect card, perfect for a pay-per-view, making MMA just even more popular than it already is. And the sport continues to evolve and get more popular, which is what I want.
Yeah, it definitely was a perfect card, and I'm so glad to hear that you had yet again another successful night, which I'm not surprised. You said you're on a trend of being on fire. Dave, you are always on fire. Let's be real, okay? But that is the past now, so like always, let's jump up to this upcoming weekend. We have UFC Vegas 38, Thiago Santos versus Johnny Walker on this Saturday, October 2nd at the UFC Apex. So let's get our main card breakdown going. For the first fight, we have lightweight Alexander Hernandez versus Mike Breeden. Via Bet Online, Alexander Hernandez is very juiced at -650 and Mike Breeden is +425. Matt, I will begin with you for your breakdown and pick for this first matchup.
This one's a little weird because we have someone going 3-2 in their last 5 with Alex Hernandez, and then you have Mike Breeden, who's making his UFC debut, but 4-1 in his last 5, all but one of those wins by KO or TKO. And the deeper this fight goes, it'll be a toss-up because we have not seen Hernandez get decision. He's 5-2 when it comes to decisions. So the deeper this fight goes, the better it is for Hernandez. And then you look at Mike Breeden, he's 2-2 when it goes to the scorecards. And when you're taking into account the baby cage, this being Mike Breeden's debut on the main card of a UFC show on ESPN Plus, I'm going to hedge my bet here. I'm going with Alexander Hernandez. He's fought the tougher competition in his last 3 losses to Thiago Moises, Drew Dober, and Donald Cerrone. His last win came in October of 2020 by knockout. He's got wins over quality opponents such as Beneil Dariush, Olivier Aubin-Mercier, and Francisco Trinaldo. So for me, Hernandez has the edge in this fight. But I wouldn't be surprised if Breeden gives him a lot of trouble in the first round and a half. Okay.
Just real quick, do you see this fight going the distance or stopping inside the distance?
I think if both fighters make it through the first round, this is going directly to the scorecards. We see the amount of times that both of these fighters, Breeden's only fought 13 times, Hernandez only has 16 fights under his belt, and he's been to a decision almost 50% of his fights. Same thing with Breeden. I think that this fight is looking towards both of these guys. Unless Breeden makes a mistake in the first 5 minutes, I think that right now I like Hernandez and I like him by decision.
All right. Just because since he's so juiced, I was looking at the MMA props, and Alex Hernandez by points is plus 200. So there's the value for you right there if you like him at the scorecards. But how about you, Dave? What is your breakdown and pick for Alexander Hernandez versus Mike Breeden?
Yeah, so Alex, our boy Hernandez, I think he's receiving a huge drop in competition this weekend. Factory X Muay Thai in Colorado. They got their schedule quite stacked in Q4 2021. We saw Anthony Smith the other week. We got Anthony Smith and then, Alexander Hernandez and then the heavy-handed Devontae Smith on this week's card. So instantly there's a positive for him, having his teammate and Devontae Smith fighting alongside him. And I think, both of these martial artists have got a good chance of taking the W this Saturday. The original bout, it was meant to be Leonardo Santos. He withdrew. And then we have a failed Dana White contender series competitor in Michael Breeden getting the call-up. Hernandez is going from a top 15 to, top 15, top 20 level of opposition to fighting a guy who's coming from the Fighting Alliance Championship, who was knocked out by a 3-2 Ivy Nixon just 3 years ago. Now, I'm not crapping on Breeden totally here. I just believe is the only option the UFC had, and sometimes that happens when they want to save a fight. They need to find someone, and I think Mike Breeden was that guy. Now, when I watch the tape on Breeden, he is a patient guy, and he's a sniper. But he takes his time in the cage, and his 10-3 pro record, it's compiled with wins that came by TKO or knockout. And he does have the likes of James Krause on his side, who I'll always vouch for as a coach. But for all of his TKO finishes and, despite being 32 years of age, he seems quite green to me on the feet, and I see a lot of flaws in his game. His previous fight versus a guy called Nick Compton, that patience that I spoke about, that was on display, which is fine if you have, great reactions and defense. But I noticed Breeden popping his jab out, plenty of 1-2s up high into the body. But every time he's doing that, his head is there to be hit. Versus a guy like Hernandez, who owns a great amount of power, it's hard for me not to feel like a classic Hernandez knockout is coming. Now, a guy like Nick Compton, he easily pressured Breeden, nearly finished him with an armbar, which for me is another red flag. And although Breeden took the unanimous decision in his last fight against Nick Compton, that was a performance against a 39-year-old. And I'm not sure is deserving of a UFC debut without the UFC needing this late notice replacement. I don't think we'd be seeing him, stepping into the octagon anytime soon. Down the line, he may have got another chance on Dana White Contender Series. You never know. But I think it's just the right place, right time for him this week. Now, the footwork, the speed, mixture of punches and kicks, I think are just going to be too much for Breeden. I anticipate he's going to receive quite an ugly welcome to the UFC from a guy who defeated Beneil Dariush in his promotional debut. Hernandez, when you watch his tape, his victories, not his losses, of course, he gets to work early. Breeden's not going to have that time to relax. I think he's going to get bombarded from the opening bow, inside leg kicks, jabs, overhands, head kicks, hooks, all coming from a place of dangerous intent. Hernandez shoots to kill. He's minus 500 for a reason. Do I like that price? No, I don't. He opened up at minus 300. So, the public shifted that from 3 to 500. I just hate when that happens. because, you know, minus 300, that would have been great for a parlay piece. But now it's getting into that territory where it's not really adjusting my probability all that much. The KO prop is plus 150.
Yeah.
Now, maybe. But then when I watch Breeden barely escape the most simple submission in an armbar against a 39-year-old, it really does worry me that he could also get submitted. We've watched Hernandez on multiple occasions. He's got a nasty rear naked choke. I could see him dropping Breeden temporarily, pouncing on him, grabbing that choke, a guillotine or a rear naked, and ruining that KO prop. So for me, inside the distance at minus 115 seems like the play, if any at all. If you can find a way to put him in your parlay, if you like 3-leg parlays, he might be able to assist you there. But the KO prop is worrying me, even though I do see some value in it. So yeah, I think Alex and Hernandez can get this job done and get it done quick.
Yeah, I actually did originally like the Alexander Hernandez to win inside the distance. At BetOnline, it's minus 125, and that's a lot better than minus 60, again, at BetOnline. So, again, check the MMA props if you guys are doing your homework, checking your bankroll, okay? So, again, straight up, if you want to get on this fight, Alexander Hernandez is minus 650, and Breeden is plus 425. But let's move on to the next fight. We have women's Bantamweight Aspen Ladd versus Macy Chiasson. Via BetOnline, Ladd is minus 265 and Chiasson is plus 225. Matt, I'll begin with you again for your breakdown and pick for this next matchup. Oh, you are muted, by the way.
That's what I was saying. I like the underdog odds for Chiasson. I'm looking at Aspen Ladd here, but this is one of those fights where it's really tricky because Aspen Ladd, we have not seen her since she got dropped by Yana Kunitskaya back in December of 2019. Almost 2 years on the shelf. Gotta wonder how that's affected her coming back into this environment and trying to process everything that's going on. And then you have Macy Chiasson, who also has been away from the sport for a significant period of time, losing, won her last two against Marianne Renault in March and Shanna Young in February of 2020. So she had a year or so gap in between fights, but has been back since March. So I like Macy in this fight. I feel like it's a toss-up. If I'm looking to put anything on this fight, I'm taking the over. Chiasson has, she's won 3 of her fights by decision, has submitted 2, knocked out 2. So those are some decent odds. Those are some decent runs for her. I think she's going to be able to stay away from Aspen Ladd and try to keep the knockout. But if you're looking at something in this fight, I would take the over. But if you're looking for a piece for the parlay and you think Aspen Ladd's got the power to drop Chiasson, I would take that too, because Aspen Ladd's knocked out 6. She's got wins over Sijara Eubanks twice and Tanya Evinger, who's a tough fighter in her career. That's going to be the interesting test here. The deeper this fight goes, the better it is for Macy.
Yeah, you mentioned the over. So over 2.5 at BetOnline is minus 175 right now. But I was looking at the MMA props. So the fight to go the distance is at minus 155. So there's more value sort of right there. But Dave, let's move on to you for your breakdown and pick for Aspen Ladd versus Macy Chiasson.
Yeah, so my opinion hasn't really changed from UFC Vegas 32, Sandhagen versus Dillashaw. This was meant to be the co-main event for that event, and it was rescheduled, and I still think Aspen Ladd's got what it takes. She's coming back from a 2-year layoff, and a loss to GDR. But at such a young age of 26, I've been feeling, like the Charmander version of Ladd is now going to be fighting more like a Charizard. She's been through 3 cancellations. She hasn't stopped training. I think we're going to see Aspen Ladd 2.0. Yeah. And let's face it, she has shown a lot of promise from the moment she entered the company at 22 years old. She was putting girls out. Now, besides that GDR loss, she has looked sharp, and more importantly, she is extremely aggressive. Ladd's takedown offense usually followed with ground and pound that ends fights. Chiasson will, evidently have a size advantage here. But my problem with her is she's not using it enough. She's not using that size to keep her fights at range. Macy she gets in the pocket too much. And you know what? She doesn't mind a takedown or two herself. But her top game control is weak, not weak, but it's just, I don't think it's going to stop the strength of Lad. And Lad's strength, I feel, is what is going to be able to dictate wherever this fight takes place. You know, the body lock, the outside leg trip, heavy grappling. Lad has just got power, no matter where she is. I think Lad owns the greater work on the ground, especially with that ground and pound offense when she's in top control. Whereas Chiasson just doesn't seem half as scary when she's in that position. And I said it before, you go back to the UFC Vegas 32 breakdown. If you want a more detailed, you know, version of this, I'm not going to hash over the same things. I think Macy here should keep a distance. But inside the range, I think she's naturally going to fall into that clinch position. And even if she does land a takedown, I think Lad's get-up game and reversal game could leave her in a bad position. I think Lad can win the striking exchanges, and, you know, Chiasson, I see her failing to use that range majority of the time. Taking Chiasson down here should be the path to victory. I think Macy's going to accept that bottom position. It was Lena Landsberg and Marion Renew found success in this position, and I think Aspen Lad is stronger than both of them girls put together. So for me, it's Aspen Lad, and I wouldn't be surprised if she gets it done inside the distance as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at the inside the distance prop for Aspen Lad, and that's at plus 185. So, again, that's out there for you guys. But again, straight up, Aspen Lad is minus 265, and Macy Chiasson is plus 225. All right. Let's move on to this next matchup, and I really like this matchup. We have middleweight Misha Cirkunov versus Krzysztof Jotko via Bet Online. Jotko is minus 145, and Cirkunov is plus 125. Dave, I'll continue with you for your breakdown and pick for this next matchup.
Oh, this is a wild one. I think this is the people's main event. Really, this is gonna. If these two let go, this is gonna be wild. But to the point that these two men, they've delivered and taken a lot of damage. And I am cautious in going to the bookmakers and putting some money on this one. I think we've got two outcomes, a dogfight or a technical battle, with the former favouring Price and the latter favouring Cowboy here. I'm just not sure that Oliveira can avoid allowing himself to stand and bang, because he has shown a tendency on multiple occasions just to let go. If he does this, the cardio and aggressive style of Price for me will excel. A third straight loss isn't what any fighter wants. Niko Price, you know, he's been a fighter of the people for a long time.
We're bringing up Cirkunov and Jotko right now.
Say again?
Cirkunov and Jotko.
Oh, I'm on the wrong fight.
Yeah. You started off right, but then you went over to Oliveira. You're good.
Right.
It's the cold in England. It's okay.
Okay. Cirkunov and Jotko. Completely different fight.
Yeah.
Completely different sizes. Cirkunov. Right. Let me get my bearings together. Cirkunov, the grappler. Great takedown offense. Showed how strong his abilities are against, what's his name, Jimmy Crute. And when he lands them takedowns, you want to see a man looking to drain the clock in position, always attempting to transition to a better position while attempting submissions. But the problem is, if Cirkunov doesn't get the takedown, I think he is going to be in trouble to the output of Jotko. Jotko, he's going to be fighting at distance for sure. He's going to be using his range, his jabs, teep kicks. But does it all with a patient mindset. Cirkunov doesn't throw enough on the feet to win a striking battle. He has got heavy hands, and, you know, it only does take one. But for me, the one he needs is the one takedown. Cirkunov is a big light heavyweight, where, you know, Jotko is on the slimmer. He's got that longer body type. I think Cirkunov's going to own him on the ground. But if Jotko survives that first 5 minutes, I do think he can cause Cirkunov some problems going into the second and third. Jotko's striking style is quite interesting here, because is well disciplined behind those fundamentals. Overextending it into dangerous grappling zones is not really his style. He's quite good and disciplined. Jotko is not completely lost in the grappling. He's got good get-ups, but Cirkunov, I just think, is too elite for him in this area. And it's tough to call, it really is. But really, I want to pick the fighter who's more dangerous. And for me, that is Misha Cirkunov. As I said, I think Cirkunov only needs one takedown. And I believe he can submit Jotko quick. That arm triangle is like a vice. And I wouldn't expect Jotko to have the power like Ryan Spann and knock Cirkunov out. If Jotko wins, this is going to be Jotko by decision. And if Cirkunov wins, it's going to be Cirkunov wins by submission. Mm-hmm. Cirkunov's losses all have the same common theme. Heavy-handed fighters who bang with brute force. Ryan Spann, Walker, Teixeira, Oezdemir. And I just don't put Jotko in this category. You can make the argument that Jotko beats a lot of grapplers, and you know, he does, you know, Anders, Armandowski, Marc-Andre Barrios. But this is a total different weight class. They were at middleweight. Cirkunov is huge, as I said. And if he gets him on the ground, I can just see him getting his neck squeezed. Mm-hmm. And there aren't a huge amount of underdogs that I'm actually confident enough to play on this card, although I do believe this could be one of them cards where more underdogs cash than favourites. Mm-hmm. But with Jotko moving up to this light heavyweight division, it just doesn't give me a good feeling in my stomach. So I think if I am going to bet this fight, I'm going to bet Misha Cirkunov as a dog. And to be honest, I'm not sure taking him by submission would even make much difference. And I'm also worried that he does have that power, so much so that he can finish Jotko with a punch, mm-hmm. A counter, or you know, maybe even a bit of ground and pound. But as I say, if Cirkunov gets this to ground, it's over. It's over for Jotko. I think he's not going to be able to deal with this, you know, increase in strength to deal with in the light heavyweight division. And Cirkunov's just a big, bad, mean dude. So, yeah, I've got to take Misha in this one.
Yeah, I was trying to find the MMA props for this matchup, but BetOnline doesn't have any for it. But if you do like Misha Cirkunov, the dog odds are plus 125. That's good. I would take that too, honestly. But, Matt, let's move on to you for your breakdown and pick for Cirkunov versus Jotko.
Some middleweight realness. Cirkunov 4-2 in his last 6. All of his losses by way of TKO or KO. But, you know, it's talked about before. He's faced some quality opponents, and only wins in that run were 2-4 in his last 6. With submission wins over Jimmy Crute and Patrick Cummins, though. Prior to his loss to Volkan Oezdemir, he had an 8-fight winning streak, all by submission and TKO or KO. So if you're looking at Cirkunov as an underdog pick, not bad if you think that he's going to be able to get something going early on in the fight. Jotko 3-4 in his last 7, had a 3-fight losing streak predicated by a 4-fight losing streak. So he is up and down all over the place. There's levels of consistency in victory and in loss for him. I really like Cirkunov in this fight. It's a toss-up to me, but I'm edging towards Cirkunov.
Right. Sorry to interrupt. Did I hear you say a middleweight battle? Because I thought they were fighting at light heavyweight. Are they fighting at middleweight? Because if that's the case,
middleweight.
Oh, that changes a lot. And do you know what changes for me? Is the weight cut for Misha Cirkunov. Mm-hmm. If Cirkunov makes this weight, see, I can't believe he's dropping down. I'm not. Oh, damn it. See, this changes things. This changes a lot for me. Because Misha's what? He's like 6'3", 6'4",
mm-hmm.
And now he's big. He's big, and his size and his strength is what's helped him so much get his victories he's had.
Yeah, to give you an understanding, Jotko is traditionally a 185er, and Cirkunov usually a 205. There's not really that much of a difference in height and reach, though. They both have 77-inch reach. And Cirkunov is at 6'2", so you know he can carry. And Jotko tall, 185 at 6'1". So I think that him dropping that extra 20 pounds is going to be a real interesting thing for Cirkunov as you go deep into the weeds. But he does have a gas tank, though. It's got to wonder if he's been preparing for this weight cut, if he's going to be ready for it, and making that move down to 185. That might make him that could affect his power. But do you think, Dave and Lee, I'm going to ask you the same question. I'm not the host. I'm just a fat jabroni. But how much of that is going to affect his stamina heading into this fight? And does that undercut his value as an underdog?
Dave, answer.
I don't think Cirkunov has fought at middleweight. I mean, I'd have to go back and look through his career and see how he's competed at middleweight. I think your best bet for this one is to keep an eye in at the weigh-ins and see if he looks real depleted and he doesn't, recondition himself for fight night. If he looks good at the ceremonial weigh-ins and he's putting that weight back on, and if he can come in looking, half of what he does at light heavyweight, then I'd have faith in him getting that early sub. But as I mentioned in my breakdown before, I don't really like him if it goes later into the fight. So maybe, keep an eye out for a live bet, because Jotko could be very live against a Misha Cirkunov who's dropping down to middleweight into that second and third round. I'm still going to go with Misha because, this show's on Wednesday and the weigh-in's not going to be for a while yet. So I can't make a prediction based off the weigh-ins, but I'm going to stick with Misha. But just be careful. I'm probably not going to bet this myself, but I do like the underdog price on him.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely not betting this because usually weight cuts worry me. I don't like cuts in general. It's just not healthy for the fighters, honestly. But what can we do? But again, if you guys want to get in on this fight straight up, via BetOnline, Jotko is -145 and Cirkunov is +125. Let's move on because we got more fights. Next up, we have welterweight Alex Oliveira versus Niko Price. Via BetOnline, Oliveira is +153 and Niko Price is -178. And Dave, since you were so eager to break down this fight, I'm going to start with you for your breakdown and pick.
Yeah, as I was saying, this is the people's main event, in my opinion. It's going to be crazy. Both men, they've both gave out a lot, but they've also taken a lot. Yeah. And when it comes to putting a wager on it, I'm not really sure. They're both heading into this one trying to avoid a third loss. And when it's funny because you look at Niko Price and they keep throwing Brazilian killers at him, from Vicente Luque to Michel Pereira, and now Cowboy Oliveira. And, he took a draw against the American Cowboy, which is not the greatest sign, because it seems like anybody can finish Donald Cerrone in this day and age. So, we've got a bit of a weird trend. It's Brazilians and Cowboys, and now he's fighting the Brazilian Cowboy. It's a tough fight to pick. I can't lie. I think the skill sets, I think they're failing both men of recent. We've got these two losing streaks, two fighters who've taken some serious damage throughout their career. We've got a boxing style from Niko Price that's going to meet a Muay Thai kickboxing style of Cowboy. The winner, I believe, will be the man who owns a better game plan. And I do think that Cowboy is the more proficient and technical of the two.
Yes.
But as I mentioned, if Cowboy wants to, meet Niko in the middle and let loose, like he has on countless occasions, I think that's a losing battle for him. But if he approaches this fight like the previous win against Peter Sabota, relaxed, sticking to the fundamentals, keeping it technical, making use of his striking at distance, I think he can take it. outside leg kicks, calf kicks, beautiful. And actually his teep kicks to the midsection, they're one of his best tools. And that's what I'd like to see against a guy in Niko Price, who's very boxing heavy. For Niko, it's all about conditioning and then boxing basics behind, you know, some heavy power that have usually assisted him in most of his victories. I'd probably, again, take the dog in this position just because I do believe it's a coin flip. And finding a viable way to choose either side is tough for me. I'm not sure which way the line's moving. I think the money is coming in on Niko Price. I think they both opened equal. I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check.
No, it is coming in on Niko Price because even on whenever was the 27th, that was Monday. On the 27th, Niko Price was minus 150, and he's now minus 150. So.
Yeah, see, so the bookmakers, they open this at minus 110 either side, and now they're taking action on Niko Price's side, and he's moving up to, did you say 170? Is that?
He's 178 at Bet Online.
Yeah, see, in these coin flips, you know, broken record, it's all about the number, and I'm just going to go with the number in this one because for me, it's a 50-50 battle, and I know how dangerous Niko Price is. Some of his fights have been incredible. Some of his finishes, you know, finishing, was it Randy Brown off his back? Incredible. Superpower, like some superhero. But as I said, if Cowboy takes a technical approach to this, I think Niko's going to struggle. And it's only going to take so many of them teep kicks straight to the sternum before that gas tank is drained, which has assisted Niko in a lot of his fights. So at this price, I'm probably going to side with Cowboy. At the opening price, I probably would have sided with Niko because of the power. But Cowboy, I think he does also have more tools to get this fight finished. I think he's going to have the better ground game, and he can also put a man out on his feet. So I'm going to slightly lean with Cowboy and, you know, this price that is currently sat at. And if the price keeps going this way, it's only going to get better. So don't rush out to bet this one.
Yeah.
I can't see heavy action coming in on Cowboy before the weekend. So sit tight and maybe you get an even bigger number. And if the number does get bigger, I will be very inclined to bet it. But right now, I'm not too sure I want to because it's a coin flip.
Yeah. No, when I was looking at this, when you took the words right out of my mouth, it was 50-50 for me. But at the end, like everything just ended up pointing more towards Oliveira for me. So I included this matchup in my top UFC picks. If you want to hear my breakdown for this matchup, check it out. But I'll tell you right now, I am taking Alex Oliveira at the dog odds because, again, the dog odds are more appealing. And plus, again, he has more traits that lean towards him that I like. So check out my video. But Matt, let's go to you for your breakdown and pick for Oliveira versus Price.
Yeah, this is a stay away fight for me. The interesting thing here, one, you know, Alex Oliveira took a loss to a common opponent in Randy Brown in April of 2021. He's 2-5 in his last 7 losses to Gunnar Nelson, Mike Perry, Nicholas Dalby, Shavat Rakhmonov. But he's got that puncher's chance. He's knocked out 12 individuals. When it comes to knockouts, Niko Price is 2-3. And if you've been knocked out more times than you've knocked other opponents out, that's a scary thing for me. So as this fight gets closer and closer to the weekend, I do agree with Dave. Like, we're going to see some interesting things shift and fluctuate. But unless you need a big piece for your parlay or you have just unbeatable knowledge or unbeatable faith in one of these fighters, it's a stay away for me. Niko Price 0-2-1 no contest. That one no contest was a majority draw that was overdrawn because he likes to hang out at 4:20 in the afternoon. And you know what? I don't fault him for that. I don't think any of us watching this show or working on the show would fault him for that. But you know what? The state of Nevada is the state of Nevada, and that irony will never be lost on me. But this is a real up-in-the-air fight to me. I'm staying away right now, but I would not be surprised if Cowboy Oliveira breaks his streak, gets his 3rd win in his last 8 fights, and finds himself a little bit at 185.
All right, there you have it. Again, via BetOnline, Oliveira is plus 153 and Price is minus 178. Let's move on to the co-main. We have middleweights, Kevin Holland versus Kyle Daukaus. Via BetOnline, Holland is minus 158 and Daukaus is plus 138. Matt, I will continue with you for your breakdown and pick for this co-main event.
Woo! This one. Kevin Holland's lost his last 2 fights by unanimous decision, but they were against Marvin Vettori and Derek Brunson in March and April of this year. So this man has been busy. That loss in March ended a 5-fight winning streak with wins over Jacare Souza, Joaquin Buckley, and Anthony Hernandez, to name a few. And he got a split decision win over Darren Stewart. Obviously, his biggest win was over Jacare, and then you got Kyle Daukaus, who is coming off of a loss. His last 3 fights have went to a decision. I think Holland's going to make sure this fight does not go to the scorecards. I think Daukaus is going to be a little less aggressive in this fight, but scratch that. He's going to be more aggressive in this fight. It's going to open himself up to Holland. He does not want to go to the scorecards, Daukaus, because he took a loss against a better-known fighter in Phil Hawes back in May. For me, the deeper this fight goes, the better it is for Kevin Holland, but he's going to set himself up early to get the stoppage. I'm going with Kevin Holland.
All right, beautiful. Well, how about you, Dave? Do you have a similar breakdown and pick than Matt, or do you have something different?
No. I'm definitely on the same side. And that this price ain't moving too aggressively, which I enjoy. I mean, Kevin Holland did open at minus 110 and is now only around the minus 150, 160 area, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
You might be best off if you are on this side to go get that now, because I do anticipate more people jumping on the side of Kevin Holland. His hype soon died down. You know, that wrestling of Brunson and Vettori, they eliminated that aspect, and now he's receiving a very winnable fight versus a fighter in Kyle Daukaus, who, much like his brother, he does like a little scrap on the feet, but he does tend to get a lot of his wins through that ground game. What I like about Holland is that he's accepting where he's weak. He's gone over to American Kickboxing Academy with Daniel Cormier and he's training with wrestlers. He's training with young wrestlers who are beating the crap out of him on the mats, and he's learning. He's learning what he needs to. And to add, his fights, you know, they shown just a little thought and respect towards a game plan. Yeah, it's a fight, but for me, GSP is one of the greatest fighters of all time because of the intelligence that he brought to the octagon. And I know that Holland wants this bad. He's a great character, and I think the UFC want him to succeed too, which is, you know, I think that's why this fight was made. He's not going to play stupid this time around. I have a feeling he's going to enter this weekend's fight a new man, still owning them dangerous attributes that he had before. You know, a beautiful jab at range, that right hand is money, but understanding that fight IQ and a serious focus on wrestling defense and the flaws in his striking, where he's leaping forward into a clinch zone, is what's going to take him further up the rankings. Nobody wants, as I said before, nobody wants a 3-fight losing streak in this promotion. And all that Holland needs to progress, in my opinion, is some patience. He's still young. He's still got plenty of time to learn. And I think that's what he's been doing in his time off. He was very cocky before. And now he seems a bit more humble, especially going into AKA and being around them elite wrestlers. But it's simple for him, this fight. Avoid the takedown. Be aware of the grappling. Circle away. Use your range, which is huge, by the way. And you know, we could eventually see Holland's hand being raised time and time again, like we did when he first entered the company. He went on such a great streak. And now we've got Daukaus, who he does grapple and he does have a great submission offense, but he's not your typical freestyle wrestler. He's not like a Brunson where he's going to be chaining takedowns and changing levels repeatedly and making you scared and hesitant. Daukaus likes to clinch, and that's where he's going to find a way to ground Holland if he can at all. I'm going to put my faith in Kevin Holland advancing this takedown defense, and I can see that Daukaus becoming just aggravated, and then he's going to get to a situation where he's forcing the takedowns once that Holland shows he's made them improvements. And I think that's going to favor Holland in the long run, and I can see him taking a unanimous decision here. But we also can't forget how good he is on the ground. He's a black belt. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. It's just that his wrestling is what's letting him down, and he's bad off his back. But when he's on top, he's not so bad himself. I can even see a position where Daukaus gets a failed takedown, gets his neck caught, because Holland's limbs, his arms, they're so long. I can see them wrap him round. I know these men are a similar height, but the reach, I think Holland is at 81 or 82 inch reach. I can see them long arms wrap him round and choking Daukaus out. At the same time, I could see a finish from Holland, especially if that confidence builds from sprawling and defending them takedowns. But ultimately, I do like him by decision. Daukaus is tough. I've kind of talked down on him in this breakdown, but he's a tough dude. So, and look, this price, we don't need to start playing with props, really. We're getting a half decent price here, 1.5 unit to get a unit. That's good enough for me. I do like this as a bet. I do think Kevin Holland gets back on track. Everybody wants to see Kevin Holland get back on track. Daukaus is a great guy. His brother fought last week. He's going to be an incredible heavyweight. What's the fight they're setting up with Daukaus now? He's actually Derek Lewis. His brother is going to be matched up with Derek Lewis. So it's good to see that happen. But Kyle Lee is young in his career. I think he's only had 12 professional fights. Whereas you look at a guy in Kevin Holland, I think Holland only started as a professional fighter in 2014, and he's already surpassed 25 fights or something. This kid is hungry. And with that hunger, I know he's going to be learning. He's going to be evolving. The Brunson loss, I know is still getting to him. And I think we're going to see that 2.0 version of Holland where he uses smarts over confidence and lets that confidence build over the fight. So I'm going to take Kevin Holland.
All right, beautiful. Well, again, straight up via BetOnline, Holland is minus 158 and Daukaus is plus 138. But let's move on to the main event. We have light heavyweight Thiago Santos versus Johnny Walker. Via BetOnline, Santos is minus 155 and Walker is plus 135. Matt, I will begin with you for your breakdown and pick for this main event.
For this one, mainly to see what Johnny Walker does, because Johnny Walker is the most confounding human being in mixed martial arts. 5 of his 6 last fights had just ended straight up in the first round, knocking out Khalil Roundtree, Justin Ledet, Misha Cirkunov, but then taking a loss to Corey Anderson in the first, went to a decision against Nikita Krylov, and then dropped Ryan Spann in September of 2020. We have not seen him before, but this is a main event level fight. We were supposed to see him back in March against Jimmy Crute, but a chest injury kept Walker out. It's going to be interesting to me to see how Santos, game plans against that, because ever since that fight against John Jones, where many people, including myself, gave him the fight. I gave Thiago Santos that fight over John Jones back at UFC 239, but ever since that loss and the subsequent injury in that fight, we've seen him take over a year off. His loss to Glover Teixeira in November of last year, and then coming up short against Alexander Rakic, where he got UD'd. For me, I think all of the momentum is on Johnny Walker's side. He's going to try to push the pace. He's going to test that injury of Santos. I don't think Santos mentally and physically has recovered from that loss to John Jones, even though it's over 2 years ago at this point. You've got to remember that this is a mental game. But if Johnny Walker gasses, which we know he will, If he can't get Santos out in the first round, round and a half, and this is a 5-round fight, Thiago Santos just has to play the slow game. For me, this is a toss-up. But if you're looking for something interesting, I'm taking Thiago Santos with the over, or just go Johnny Walker with the under. There's no real straight-up winner in this fight to me. I think those are the two best options.
All right. I'll tell you right now, I included this one also in my top UFC picks video, and I like Thiago Santos in this matchup. I really do, and check out my video if you want to hear why, but let's hear what Dave has to say for his breakdown and pick for this main event.
Look, you go from the bottom of this card straight to the top. There's a lot of question marks, and I don't like question marks because question marks equal losing bets. Now, a lot of people know I give my main event prediction every Friday, a week before next week's event on SBR UFC Picks page, and I did choose Thiago Santos, but I never stop looking into these fights throughout the week. I'm continuously doing fight tape. It's a endless game for me right up until fight night. I rarely change my initial mind, but the more that I ponder, the more I worry for Santos's chances. Now, I'm not saying that I'm changing my pick. Don't worry if you've already followed that. It's just that Johnny Walker is a scary dude.
He's unpredictable.
Yes, exactly. For what he has, and for what he does, and for the fights that he's won, some fights that I didn't expect him to win, and he just has, because he's a violent man.
He's the mixed martial arts equivalent to Leroy Jenkins.
Exactly. That is a classic video. I love that video. If you don't know about Leroy Jenkins, you should go YouTube that and have a laugh. That one kept me laughing for months when I was a child. But anyway, back to the point. I think this is a significant drop in competition, but for Santos, should I say? But this unorthodox style of Walker, combined with Santos's lack of output of recent, is a worry. Across 5 rounds, I do favour Santos, like Matt said. That gas tank, when that goes, that's gone. Mm-hmm. And I think that Santos's best game plan, and if I was his coach, I would be telling him to wrestle. He can win this fight 10 times out of 10 if he wrestles, because he owns a top control advantage and a knowledge of ground fighting that is really non-existent in Walker's game. Walker wants to stand on the feet and take your head off, whether that's with a flying knee, high kick, spinning elbow, hawks jabs, whatever it is. But, and you know, this is a big but, I've just been paying too much attention to when I did that breakdown last week to a Thiago Santos of the past. Matt said it, since the John Jones fight, since that knee injury, he just isn't the same aggressive, high output fighter that earned himself that shot against John Jones. Now, he does have incredible kicks, but them incredible kicks cost him 2 knees against John Jones. Mm-hmm. And messing up them knees and going through rehab just hasn't returned us a version of Santos that we know and love. This is a cause for concern going in against a lunatic like Walker. Mm-hmm. It's a big cause for concern. No disrespect, but that's what he is. The man is a lunatic. And 1 ounce of a firefight could just be the beginning of the end for Thiago Santos. But again, it could also be the end for Johnny Walker, because his striking defense is bad and he can get clipped too. And 1 check hook later from Thiago Santos and he could be on the mat dribbling. Walker's massive. He's got a range of attacks. And you know, I look at the Santos versus Rakic, and it's quite telling of where Santos is during his career. Rakic's basic fundamentals was able to overcome Santos, and you know, it was surprising. I'm not gonna lie. I think I did pick I think I did pick Santos to take the win in that fight. It was just a telling point for me where Santos is drawing his career. And I'm praying and I'm hoping that we do see that original OG version of Santos. But no one can promise that. Losing your legs and, as I say, going through that rehab, I think that has just made him scared. And can you blame him? Like, this is his job. He doesn't want to be sidelined again. Rakic's basic fundamentals were able to overcome Santos. That was surprising to me. It doesn't feel like, the viciousness of Santos is still present. And we also have to think why. Why are the UFC making this fight? Walker was on the rise, then Corey Anderson and Nikita Krylov put a stop to that. How do we get our young prospect back on track? We feed him a guy with a huge name, but a guy who is also damaged, injured, and is aging, who could easily drop, this fight to a guy like Walker. Now, with all that said, if Santos does take a grappling approach, and if he can drag Walker into the second, third, fourth, fifth round, maybe I'll give Walker 2 rounds, third, fourth, fifth. He might have the ability to gain the traction he needs to win this fight. And unlike Ryan Spann, Santos has the smarts to avoid stupid takedown attempts and get himself caught like Ryan Spann did. The main card is throwing some tough fights at us. For the negatives on Santos, Walker's crazy style is horrific on the defensive end. Santos could counter him once he's in that pocket. It's tough, man. It's really tough. For me, it's all Santos. I'm going to go with my original gut feeling. But in terms of a betting approach, I think maybe take the under. Because both men have got risky chins. And, as I say, if Walker wins, I think he's going to get it done quick. If Santos takes over them later rounds, second, third, I think maybe there's a good play on the under 3.5 if there's a good price on it. I think Santos has got more tools at his disposal. I can't back to Walker solely based on being a lunatic. But if that approach works, it is what it is, which is why I say take the under. Walker isn't the most durable of fighters. Santos can finish him standing or on the ground. And if Walker wins, I think it's coming early in the fight. So take what you will from that. It's a tough one, but it's also a great card and enjoy it.
Definitely is a great card. And I'm looking at the totals at BetOnline. The under 1.5 is at -125 right now. But there's that. But straight up, Santos is -155 and Walker is +135. And that is our entire main card. But let's move on to our top prelim pick. We are running out of time, so just briefly, let's go over the prelims. And for me, I'll tell you right now, I like Joe Selecki and Devontae Smith. I'm really excited to watch Betch Correa and Carol Rosa. I really like that fight, but I'm not going to put any money on it. But I want to hear what you guys have. Matt, do you have a top prelim fight you're looking out for?
Anthony Shevchenko. Anytime you see someone with the last name Shevchenko on a UFC card, it is must-watch television. Obviously, Joe Selecki and Jared Gordon's going to be a good fight. I'm also going with Joe Selecki there. Watch out for Devontae Smith. And also, I think Carol Rosa has the edge over Betch Correa. Just looking at, just taking what I know about both fighters, not in depth as Dave and Lee, but just, kind of taking the eye test there. I'm going with Rosa. We got a lot of great fights on these prelims.
Yeah, we really do. Well, how about you, Dave? Do you have a top prelim pick you're looking out for?
Yeah, I think you guys nailed it. I think Joe Selecki, is a great player. I think two guys that do like to grapple. I think he can just do the better job of grappling. And Shevchenko coming in as a dog. I know Casey O'Neill, she isn't defeated, 2 finishes in the UFC. So I'm a bit cautious on that one. There are a lot of women's MMA fights on this card, still evolving. Sometimes it's hard to get a read on girls with such small records. Yeah. So just be a bit tentative when you're throwing money about on these prelims. But overall, I'm not too heavy on anyone, probably outside of Joe Selecki, and obviously Devontae Smith's right hand is lethal. So that'll be a fun fight as well.
Yeah. Well, that's our top prelim pick. So let's move on to our lock on the card segment. And honestly, if I had to choose a lock on this card, I would choose Alexander Hernandez or Joe Solecki. Those are my top fights, honestly. Yes, I like those two. Well, how about you, Matt? Do you have a lock on this card that you like?
Yeah, it's Alexander Hernandez for me. There's a lot of open questions here, not a lot of definitive stuff, but that. And then you take a look at the prelim card. I'm going with Joe Solecki on that too. I don't want to fade Antonina Shevchenko and say she's not a lock, but Casey O'Neill coming in undefeated, has the reach advantage, doesn't have the height advantage, but that's where I'm at right now.
All right, beautiful. Well, how about you, Dave? Do you have a potential lock on this card?
I threw out a bunch of locks last week. We're running out of time, so I'm not going to give some extensive breakdown on why. But we've spoke about Joe Solecki. I feel like he's a lock. Alex Hernandez, he's a lock. I also like Aspen Ladd. I know we haven't seen her. I've got faith in Aspen. I think she comes out and looks better than ever and beats the crap out of Macy Chiasson. And I think Kevin Holland too. So there's 4 locks for you. Do as you will with them. For anything else, for more in-depth, come onto my page on Twitter and everything will be on there that I haven't covered.
Exactly. Hit up the guys on Twitter. You can follow Matt at MRyan Consulting, and you can follow Dave at DManion_. And then while you're at it, just give SBR a follow at SBR Sports. Now, if you want to find more breakdowns, all articles pertaining to UFC, anything to help you make your picks for this upcoming card, just go to sbrpicks.com/UFC. And then real quick, for all my football fans, remember to go to sbrpicks.com/pick6. Make your 6 picks for our Pick 6 football contest. There's up to $1,600 in cash prizes, and signing up is for free. This is free money, so get in on your chance to win some free cash. Now, that is our entire show. Like always, I wish you all the best of luck on all of your wagers, and we'll catch you next time.